lessons, inspiration, and recharging in nature. That is going to be the topic of this episode of Chi Life. For the last few days, I've been hiking in the mountains in the South Island of New Zealand, and it has been really, really nice. After a year of largely being stuck indoors, not like it's been impossible to get outdoors, but just the nature of things. Being stuck indoors, not really able to go to many places, and working in front of a computer, as so many of us do for so much of our lives. It has been so nice to get out into nature and really immerse in it, not just go for an hour or two, but to spend several days just surrounded by beautiful nature. It has such a beneficial effect, certainly for me, and I think for lots of people. One of the things that I find often different Qigong students comment on, some of the participants in the different courses that I run, is they comment that it feels so different to practice Qigong out in nature compared to indoors, and I definitely agree. Of course, it's always great to practice Qigong. There's lots of benefit practicing indoors, practicing wherever you're able to. But there are some extra benefits that come from practicing outdoors and in nature. Every part of nature, every living thing has its own energy. And when we're surrounded by vibrant, healthy, living things, plants and animals, and also the movement of the natural elements, the streams, waterfalls, clouds, the wind, when we have the rocks, the mountains, all these things around us, there's more vibrant energy, and we can draw that in. We can immerse ourselves in it, and it has some real, very real, tangible effects in terms of recharging and building our energy. So that has been wonderful to be able to do that over the last few days myself, to be, well, a lot of walking through the mountains, but also to practice some Qigong in some really beautiful places, and to be able to recharge a little bit from the energy of nature all around here. So that has been really good. But then there's another layer that comes from being in nature as well. So there's this principle within Chinese philosophy, and then certainly applied through into Qigong, that the patterns we see in the universe, we see reflected at every layer within the universe. So we see the same patterns in galaxies, in solar systems, on an individual planet, within an individual community, within an individual person, and right on down to cells, to atoms. We see the same patterns. And some of these patterns can seem quite big and abstract, and some of them are, much more at a personal level. But all of these patterns are reflected. And so by being in nature, it gives us the opportunity to observe these patterns, maybe in more detail than we normally would. And as we observe those patterns in nature, we come to understand them better in our own lives as well. And so that can mean different layers to that within our own life. It can be the functioning of different things within our body, our organs, different aspects of our energy functioning. But it can also be on a larger scale, our relationships with other people, patterns of activity that we may have, and so on. So, as well as recharging from nature, we can learn from nature. And I think a lot of this becomes richer as we practice more Qigong, because the Qigong becomes like the pointing finger, pointing us towards different lessons, which we can then observe more closely. And similarly, even with the recharging effect, because we pay more attention to our energy by practicing Qigong, we tune into the energy more easily, and we're then able to benefit from it more greatly as well. So I have had a great time as I've spent some time in the mountains, recharging and gaining little pieces of insight, little pieces of learning, little pieces of inspiration. Even though I've practiced Qigong for several decades at this point, quite seriously, there's still more little pieces of insight. And sometimes it comes just from doing the Qigong, but then doing the Qigong in a different environment and in this beautiful natural environment, little pieces, little insights, little observations come. And that has been really, really wonderful. So there's one little analogy or one little aspect of nature that I'll talk about now that's quite relevant, and it's quite relevant to the name of my Qigong school, which is Long White Cloud Qigong. So if you've looked at some of the little videos I've taken of my hiking, you will have noticed that there were lots of clouds through a lot of the hiking. And I think our journey, our Qigong journey, learning about our energy, I think a journey climbing a mountain is a good analogy for that journey. And as we hike through the mountain, hoping to maybe, to recharge ourselves in nature, and maybe to reach some of the peaks, to gain insight and perspective on the world. The cloud is often ever present, and these clouds filled with moisture are a big part of what creates the vibrancy of the nature, creates the lush greenness that supports the plant life, and then supports animals and so on as well. And so the cloud is sort of representative of the vibrancy of the energy. But then, as well as that, sometimes as we're on this journey, the nature of having all of this vibrant energy around us and these clouds is that sometimes we're not necessarily able to see everything around us. Often we can see what's right around us, and we can gain a lot of benefit from that. And we have glimpses in the distance, maybe of where we want to go, but we need to work through the energy. We need to climb through the clouds to eventually gain the vista that we're hoping for. And so, Long White Cloud Qigong. It refers to these clouds, that vital energy that comes through them, and also of a bit of a reminder of what this process is like. Sometimes we have many amazing experiences along the way, and sometimes we just have glimpses of what's ahead of us in the future. Sometimes as we think we're reaching the final peak, when we get there and the clouds clear, we see there are many other peaks. There's so much more to learn, so much more to benefit from in our Qigong journey. So anyway, I think that's probably enough rambling for me right now. I think I do have a written description of sort of why the name Long White Cloud Qigong on the longwhitecloudqigong.com website, I think in the About section. if you want to have a read of that sometime as well. Yeah, probably enough rambling, but wow, beautiful nature. So amazing to be able to get out here to recharge and also learn a few things, gain a bit of inspiration. I look forward to seeing you on the next vlog.